Black Mirror is a sci-fi drama anthology series created by Charlie Brooker, and the first season stars Rory Kinnear, Lindsay Duncan, Daniel Kaluuya, Jessica Brown-Findlay, Toby Cabell and Jodie Whittaker. And yes, this apparently is the official trailer. It looks a bit weird, but hey. As usual, I'm fashionably late to the party on a TV show, and really I only watched it in the first place because my idea for my coursework film is sci-fi, so yeah, inspiration and all that. So I booted up Netflix to watch the series, kind of excited, kind of scared. I heard praise for it. I had absolutely no idea what it was. But I loaded up first episode, the national anthem, found myself quite intrigued by the opening few minutes, and then contemplated swiftly booting it back down after hearing what the kidnapper's demand was. And luckily I didn't. I kept going, and found the show was far smarter, far better written, and far more darkly satirical than the premise of the first episode would suggest. And yeah, I'm Irish now. The show sets its tone right from the off by having the first episode being about the Prime Minister being forced to fuck a pig, and it lets you know that he's absolutely not pissing about. But I do find something admirable about that, I gotta admit. But what I really appreciated about the first episode, aside from the admirability of the plot, was the pacing and just how well it captured the ticking clock type of narrative that a lot of films or TV shows think is done by occasionally flashing like a stupid digital clock display on the screen, like it's that image you're not that proud of on your class presentation. You just show it for 2 seconds and then hope no one noticed how shit it was. Instead, you actually get the sense of the threat escalating as the newsrooms try to get around the censors, the covert ops of racing against time to find the kidnapper, and the Prime Minister's stressing out in his room, wondering how he's going to explain to his wife why his cock suddenly tastes of bacon. It all comes together to create a relentless pace, and with never a dull moment, right up until 0 hours approaching, and you're wondering just what the Prime Minister will do to save this girl's life, and then you find out in a scene that was honestly like completely chilling. Like it could have easily ended up being funny, but it wasn't at all. It beautifully like satirizes our obsession with the media and celebrities, and it honestly, I thought the commentary here, Charlie Brooker's writing was genius mostly, but there's one criticism I have. It's a rather big one, unfortunately. I'd say the Prime Minister himself is a bit boring. You know, most of his character is effectively just boiling down to him not wanting to put his sausage in a future sausage, but unless you're David Cameron, I think that would apply to most Prime Ministers, so it's not that I didn't sympathise with him, he wasn't that interesting. There are also some other minor details that bugged me, like the comments on the ransom video on YouTube. You know, trust me, if you've been watching YouTube for long enough, you know that comments do not look like that. And some very clunky lines of dialogue, like when the Prime Minister's going on about how secret he wants this, he said something like super fucking turbo, like something to do with Lord of the Rings. I don't know, but yeah, just weird things like that. But yeah, I thought it was a fantastic start to the series overall. So I'm going to give the national anthem an 8 out of 10. And yeah, I'm going to rank every episode because it's much easier for a show where every episode tells a different story in a different world and all that. The next episode, 15 Million Merits, is a lot more sci-fi and stars Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out, so that's a pretty massive plus. And he's a member of an enclosed society, something like We, with a lot less transparent glass. And they ride on exercise bikes to power the building and earn merits, a currency that plays into every part of their lives, because pretty much every wall is a screen that links to a social media thingy that lets them buy food, virtual shit for their avatar, and they're pretty much constantly bombarded with ads for porn and a talent show that's their only hope of getting a better life for themselves. And I was definitely more impressed with the production value on this episode. It takes a fairly simplistic design choice of having the place be covered in quite literal black mirrors to the point of madness. Like, it really does get quite tiring looking at it after a while, but I'm pretty sure that was intentional. because it makes you realise just how boring and pedestrian everyone's lives are there. They've just been staring at it day after day for years. And it also does a fucking fantastic job setting up its world. Within about 10 minutes, you understand nearly everything about the soullessness of the place, how boring it must be, and all with pretty much no dialogue. And as expected, Daniel Kaluuya, he's a bloody fantastic actor, even in his pre-Get Out days, and everyone else doesn't do a bad job either. The big problem I have with this episode is that I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to be a parody or a satire of. It's like the main judge on the talent show is obviously supposed to be Simon Cowell, and it's criticising the facelessness and staleness of TV talent shows, but I was under the impression the whole point of Black Mirror was to offer a statement on where technology is or could be headed and how that could completely fuck up society. And sorry, but talent shows aren't exactly my idea of a facade for an aspiring evil dictator. And I just don't see how a society like this could really come into existence in the world we live in. So I felt like it kind of felt like it missed the point of its own show's premise. On top of that, it feels like it's trying to do too much at once. Like, yeah, it wants to take the piss out of talent shows, but also reality TV and advertising and porn and social media. And it just can't balance all that at once and still be an effective critique on most of them. I'll cut the episode some slack for apparently being the first to ever be written. Like, maybe Charlie Brooker was still trying to figure out what he wanted the show to be. But I'll be a bit controversial and say I preferred the first one myself. I'm going to give 15 Million Merits a 7 out of 10. The final episode of Season 1, The Entire History of You, is easily my least favourite, although, annoyingly, I thought it had the most interesting premise. So, sometime in the near future, some people have little devices under their skin, behind their ears, that records all their memories, so they can play them back in front of their eyes and live them out again, or throw them up on a screen for everyone to see. And there were just so many things I could see them doing with this idea. Having a guy suspect his wife's having an affair seemed like a pretty decent one. But unfortunately, it's kind of ruined by a main character being such a fucking tool. He's just such a bloody control freak that you just don't care about him at all. His wife laughs at a joke some guy makes at a dinner party, and that's why he gets suspicious. I suppose there's an argument to be made for that being kind of the point. But then why should you give a single shit if the entire premise is, about this guy trying to prove his wife's infidelity when you don't care about either of them? And it's also, I don't know, it kind of loses the pace at around halfway through. It starts becoming pretty boring and flat, I thought. But I still think it's a really interesting idea. The acting's still great, and I did find myself shocked at what ends up happening. But yeah, it was easily my least favourite episode. It was alright, but it's a little bit boring around the middle, and I just couldn't stand the main character. So yeah, I'm going to give The Entire History of You a 6 out of 10, and I'm going to give Season 1 of Black Mirror a 7 out of 10. And since I wrote this yonks ago, I've been watching the rest of the show since writing this. I just finished episode 2 of Season 4. Yeah, that's it. And I think, overall, the show's very hit or miss, especially in Season 3. But when it hits, yeah. Sorry about that. It hits hard, and it's amazing when that happens. So guys, have you seen Black Mirror? What did you think about it? What's your favourite episode? Or are you a massive technophobe after watching it? Because I've actually been covering my laptop camera for about a week now. I've just got this piece of blue tack stuck over it that I know is going to be a nightmare to get off if I ever want to do face cam or anything. No promises, but yeah. So I must be doing something right. Whatever it is, let me know. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.